Chapter 2. Prepare for submission. Okay, now you have your pictures which you think would sell well. It's time to prepare them for submission, and this step is absolutely critical for success. When you submit your photo for approval, it will first be curated by an army of reviewers, curating teams. If your picture qualifies for a range of criteria, which I'm describing in the ranking chapter later, then it gets approved and published on the platform. Your ranking, similar to Google, is therefore directly depending on your acceptance rates. So, how best to prepare your pictures? Here I'm gonna give you guidance on how I use the software myself. Step 1. Lightroom. Import and flag your pictures. Usually, you have collected hundreds of pictures from your shooting. So the key here is to flag the ones you want to submit for stock photography to make the follow-up and edit easier. This way, you will only see the pictures you've selected for stock platform. Alright, now that you have imported your pictures, you can start flagging them. So just go and select the picture you want to further edit. Right click, set flag, flagged. Again, if I want to select this one, right click, set flag, flagged. But there's another way to do so much more faster. You just press the pick key, the P letter on the keyboard to pick the picture, flag as pick. So just go on your picture, press P. For example, this one, P, maybe a last one, I want to select this one, press P. And you will see the white flag on the top left corner saying that the photo has been flagged. Once you have selected your photos out of the tens of other pictures, just go to the attribute menu here and filter based on the flag. If I select this one, and here we go. You will only see the pictures that you have selected, flagged, so that you can now focus on working only on these pictures. Once flagged, start working on them one by one. This is the very first action I take whenever I import my pictures in Lightroom. Step 2. Auto option. Open up your picture and click on Auto to have a quick image enhancement with what the software thinks would look great based on exposure, contrast, etc. So open up the picture you want to edit and then go to the develop mode. You will most probably see some areas in red, which are for the overexposure, and some areas in blue, which are for the underexposure. And what we are analyzing here is the histogram. You will also most probably see some alerts. On the left side is the alert for the blue, for the black cursor here. And on the right side, the alert for the overexposed areas here in red, and which is being adjusted by the white cursor here. So before adjusting these cursors ourselves, just hit the auto option and it will bring the most basic enhancements and already good ones that will give you an idea of how the picture would look like in a better shape in terms of exposure and minor enhancements. Then here we can see that the red alert didn't disappear. So it means that we will have to adjust the cursor so that the alert disappears. So just moving the cursor on the right direction here, it will, as you can see, remove the alert. As opposite, if I move the other way, you will see it's getting more and more blue. So we don't want to see anything in blue here in terms of alerts. So I just keep moving the cursor so that I don't see any more alerts or zones, areas in blue. So moving on the right until the alert disappears. And even if it disappears, I will inspect just to make sure that there's no more alerts in blue. And for the whites, for example, here the auto option has already corrected the overexposed areas in the sky region. For example, it could look like something like that, overexposed. So basically, the same way for the blacks, we would adjust the whites accordingly so that there's no more alerts here until the triangle for the alert disappears. Let me do it again so that you can see. You see the alert just disappears, and I would, for example, inspect more closely. I can see here still some areas. Although there's no more alert, I still have some adjustments to do, so I will go a bit farther for the whites, reduce the white so that the red area disappears, and that's it. So as you can see, finding the right balance is critical so that you don't have any picture over or underexposed. Step 3. Clear any dust. This step is absolutely critical. You have to clear any dust that can appear on the picture, usually visible in the sky region. So I'm gonna take a picture that I took with my DSLR camera. So among all my pictures here, I need to isolate the one I took with my Nikon D610 here. So selecting this one will isolate the picture I'm looking for. Double click to open it up and go to develop mode. And here I will select the spot removal tool. I also click on visualize spots here. And here you can see all the discrepancies and the areas that I need to edit and remove the dust from. So to have a better view, I just move the cursor here so you can see all the dots and the dust that are on my camera's mirror that I need to remove. So basically just zoom in, isolate one, and downsize this one, and just click on it, and it will automatically correct the zone that I'm trying to edit. For example, if I start again on another one, here's another dot, go down, isolate, and click. Let's move to another one. I can see one here, click and edit. Let's say here where I have the most of the edits I need to do. So isolate here, go and remove. So basically you just need to repeat this operation until you don't have any more dust on the screen that you can see. For example, here I'm gonna move this one, and if it's not perfectly identified by the software, I just move to somewhere else, some other area, so that I have great edit. Let's say I'm gonna edit this one, click on it, and probably move somewhere there is neutral. And let's do one last edit, this one, or maybe just another one if we are able to isolate somewhere here. Let's say on the left side, let's say that one. Here you can see we have several dust areas that needs to be removed. So instead of clicking one by one, I can just also click, hold the mouse click, move to cover the area, and then release the click. So it will identify a bigger area that I can also move around so that it will correct perfectly. And again, this step is absolutely critical to have any dust being removed from your main picture here. And then when you will go back, you will have a perfect clear zone without any particular dust. And again, this is something that is happening usually with the DSLR cameras, where you have the mirror that is not that clean enough, obviously on my camera here. So the other option is for you to have a perfect clean mirror on your camera before going out to shoot. Otherwise, you need to do all these steps, all these edits in the post-production area. And that's it. Step 4, noise reduction. The objective here is to have a very smooth picture, so noise reduction is key. In particular, you will have to adjust luminance and color. I usually set the cursors as seen on the screenshot here. Color noise reduced to maximum and luminance between 10–20% as a best practice. So, in our previous example, here is how we are going to reduce noise. So, if I zoom in on the grass here and maybe some further zooming in, you will see some discrepancies in terms of colors. You see the green dominant colors, but also some other unnecessary colors. So I just want to remove and keep the dominant colors here. So I go back here, down on the right side to the noise reduction, luminance here, and color. And pay attention when I will move the cursor for the color from 0 to 100% so that you can see the difference immediately. Here we go. And that's it. You only keep the dominant colors. You see all the other colors are somehow gone. Let me do it again. Get back to 0 here. You see the color noise. And if I move back 100%, which I usually prefer, you only keep the colors, the dominant colors here, which looks great. And the process is the same for reducing the luminance. For example, if we zoom in here on the mountain, you see some noise here, and I need a smooth picture. So I will move the cursor for luminance. However, if I move this to 100%, you will get some weird results. So let me show you. If I move it to 100%, alright, it looks perfectly smooth. However, zooming out, for example, if I zoom in here on the trees, you can see that the editing is way too much. The trees don't look like trees anymore, right? So we need to keep it as simple as possible here, between 10 and 30%. You will probably get the most appropriate luminance levels. And that's it. You have a perfectly smooth picture ready for the next step. Step 5, lens correction. This one is pretty straightforward. Obviously, set this to the lens you use for the picture. As an example, I'm gonna take the picture we've been working on. Here, open it up, go to develop mode, scroll down to the lens correction section and click enable profile corrections. I took this picture with my drone DJI, so the make here is correct and the model is also correct. For example, if you want to take another one, let's say with my DSLR camera, let's take the other one we've been also working on. Open it up, develop mode, and scroll down to the lens correction section again, enable profile corrections, and here the make is Nikon and the model was the 105mm, so this one is correct. However, if you open up the menu here, you can see a lot of different models, so just choose the one that is correct for you, that you've been using for the shooting, and that's it. And then comes the final one, step 6, geometry. Nobody wants to see any leaning or misaligned picture, which is very much unpleasant for the human eye. Therefore, in the transform section of Lightroom, adjust the guide so your picture looks perfectly aligned. Alright, this is a picture I took in New York, and you can see here that there is some misalignment issues, especially regarding the perspective. So you have some lines going that direction for the bridge here, not perfectly horizontal, and here not perfectly vertical. So in terms of the overall picture, you see that there is something wrong that needs to be fixed. So for that, again, go to develop mode, scroll down to the transform section and click on the guided upright tool here. And here we will just draw the lines as we can see on the picture. For example, let's take this one as a reference, the building, which is obviously vertical, or should be. The bridge should be also horizontal, so I take this as a reference. Here we go, and releasing the button, you will see the picture that is now perfectly aligned, vertical and horizontal. And that's it. With Lightroom, you can send your picture to Photoshop for editing, and then once finished, re-import into Lightroom at the same place where you were working initially. I personally use this technique very often to remove unnecessary details, fill in empty areas, clean or blur trademark areas like store names, people faces, car plates, etc. Basically, just right-click on your image and open in Photoshop. Once finished editing in Photoshop, just save and it will bring your modifications back into Lightroom under a new image name. In this example, I'm gonna use a picture I took recently here in Paris, obviously. After I've done all the editings within Lightroom as we have seen previously, and you can see here that I've done a lot. Now I would like to bring it into Photoshop so that I can run some further in-depth editing and modifications. Because for example, I would like to remove these black areas, or maybe for example people's faces here that I would like to hide in much more granular details. So I just right click on the picture, edit in Photoshop. It will take some time to bring it into Photoshop and then open it up. Alright, now that I have imported my picture into Photoshop, I can further edit. So, as I said, here I want to move these black areas, so I just go to my preferred spot healing brush tool here and just draw areas so that Photoshop does the magic. So I remove here. What else? For example, let's say this area here, and maybe this area here. All right, I'm happy with that. And let's check out for the people's faces that I want to blur here. So going to the blur tool and just slightly blurring the people's faces so that we cannot recognize them. This is important for the stock platform, to have people not recognizable unless we have an image release that the people would have signed, which is not the case here, obviously. So I just keep on blurring people's faces, not all of them, of course, just those that are very much obviously recognizable. For example, the couple here, slightly blurring, and maybe the lady here, blurring. And let's say, for example, here I want to enhance this area, and for that, instead of the spot healing brush tool, I'm gonna use the patch tool with the content aware feature within Photoshop. example, let's say that size, start again, and that's it. Or maybe, or another area here, and select an area that again Photoshop can duplicate or imitate if you prefer, and let's let the tool do the magic. And that's it. Now I'm finished. I'm happy with the editing. I just closed this picture, click yes to save it, and then it will bring the modifications back to Lightroom. So we are now back to Lightroom with all the modifications that I've done in Photoshop. As you can see here, for example, on the people's faces, let's check here, lady, the couple here, and everything is back in Lightroom. And now it's time to export my picture. So File, Export, on the hard drive, burn full-size JPEG, and you choose the folder you want to export into. Here it's in my demo folder, and I want to keep the person info and location info, basically all the details about my picture, and just export. Alright, now that we have finished editing in Photoshop, there is one last final check step. And this is about the picture size. Your picture must be eligible for upload on the stock platform of your choice. You can refer to the requirements page on the stock platform's website. So, if everything is looking good, it's now time for you to upload to the stock platform of your choice.